Now I would like to introduce to you Cristina Avila, Vice President, Senior Business Consultant of JP Morgan Chase. Cristina serves as a business mentor coach for minority entrepreneurs to help them take their business to the next level with one-on-one coaching in key areas of operation and profitability. Thank you, Cristina, for being here with us today. Take it away.
Hello. Thank you guys so much for having me. And thank you so much for the introduction. I don't think you can see me on video, but I am Latina as well. So I am brown skinned, I'm wearing a blue shirt and have black curly hair. So thank you everybody for joining. Today we're going to be kind of going over marketing in a digital world, focusing more on the business side. And so we're going to go ahead and get started. It's a little interactive, so I know that there's a chat, so please feel free to utilize the chat as we go on. And the moderator, I'll just be checking in throughout the presentation with the moderator so that I know what's going on in the chat as well. So there'll be a few times where I will pause for questions and hopefully try to make this as interactive as possible. So marketing in a digital world, we're in an era obviously where social media is kind of taken over. So hopefully for those of you that are looking to start a business or already a business owner, you find some value in this presentation today. So let me go on to the next slide here. So here it says 20% of e-commerce projected share of total retail sales by 2024. So as you know, after the pandemic, COVID kind of changed everything, shut the whole world down, and changed the way we do business and even the way that consumers are getting to their products. So retail sales online definitely increased while we were all home on the shutdown. I know I can speak for myself. I was ordering on Amazon almost every other day just to figure out things to do around the house. So it's projected that by 2024, sales online will continue to increase to about 20% of retail sales will be done online. So it's a time of opportunity. It's a time to be online and take full advantage of that, right? And so by taking full advantage of it, selling products out online have been kind of the new go-to as well. Going into a retail store or going into a building to shop for products isn't happening as often anymore. Like I said, especially after COVID. So this is a quick poll. You can throw this in the chat. Let me know, has anybody here increased their online business since March of 2020? So since COVID kind of came out, who has increased their online business since March 2020? So here's what you can ponder on that poll there for a little bit, but this is what we'll cover today. So part one will be kind of going over and learning what your unique business is, right? So what makes your business unique? Part two, we want to kind of discuss where your customers are, who your target customers are. Part three, maximizing your online space. Part four, analyzing and adjusting. And then lastly, part five, owning your digital space. So let's talk about how you show up is as important as where you show up. So your branding absolutely matters. And so every single time I, talk to entrepreneurs, that's the first question I ask is, what is your brand? What sets you apart from your competitors? What sets you apart from your threats in the area, right? So what do people think when they see your business? What do they feel when they see the colors of your logo? And then what do people say to your customers who represent your brand? So knowing your brand is very important. It's kind of like, I don't know if anyone here is a fan of Shark Tank, but the TV show Shark Tank, but knowing what your brand is very, very important, and kind of highlighting that. And we're going to start a business, and even when you are a current business owner, being very clear and concise on what that branding is. And don't be afraid to know that a brand is a work in progress, right? So you don't need to know once you figure out what that brand is, it's okay that it changes. It's okay that it is a journey that you're on, and the story that you tell and everything that you do. So it can change and it can evolve and it can pivot. So I know before the pandemic hit, a lot of customers and a lot of business owners had to pivot their branding, because now they're like, okay, stores shut down, the whole world shut down. So how do I pivot? What do I do? And those businesses that pivoted and changed their brand were the ones that are still running today, even after the pandemic. So there's a workbook, and I'll be sure, I sent the workbook, but I'll be sure to make sure that everybody gets access to the workbook. In the workbook, if you don't have it already, like I said, I'll be sure to get that out. But in the workbook, there's a few worksheets to work through and kind of think about. But one of the worksheets will go over thinking about your brand and thinking about where you stand in your brand and where you want to elevate your brand to in the next few months to come. So keep working on your brand. Find additional resources at chase.com/business/next level biz. Again, this is all in the workbook. So all of the different resources we're going to be sharing and talking about today. So before I keep on, I just want to check to make sure there's anything in the chat going on.
There is. If you can just put yourself on mute for a second, please. It says here, I can't seem to put, I am a brand new e-commerce business owner, so I can't answer your question right now. Almost ready to sell, glad to be starting it now. I did most of the answers to the questions you are asking, so I do agree as well. That was the comment from someone in regards to the poll.
Excellent. Thank you so much for sharing, and congratulations on the business. So here's the next thing to kind of think about as well, having a strategy. And so we'd like to make sure business owners also learn about the 7 Ps. And the 7 Ps are 1 for product, 2 for price, 3 promotion, 4 place, 5 people, 6 process, and then 7 physical experience. So let's also chat more on the brand. So in the chat box, write, what's your #1 priority for strengthening your brand? While we go on to the next part of this, which is knowing where your customers are. So a website, it is very important that every small business has a website. In the website, you want to be able to include useful information that answers questions and draws in curious customers. So the website is going to tell a story, and it's going to back up your brand. Those things need to all be cohesive with one another. So your brand needs to match up with what your website and the products and the services that you're offering. People search Google 5.6 billion times per day. So that's just an awesome quick stat there. So what does a professional design website need? For one, it needs a value proposition. It needs your address, contact information, and hours. It needs up-to-date information. So again, as your business is evolving, make sure that your website demonstrates and showcases how your business is evolving. And the services as they evolve, make sure to update them on the website immediately. It should also be very streamlined navigation to make it easy for everyone to access and kind of navigate through. I think for websites, I always say less is probably more, but again, making it so that, you're drawing people in and they want to stay on the website and they want to essentially either buy the service that you're providing and then buy the product that you're providing. And then don't be afraid to say more information about you. I always recommend writing why you started the business, what values you have, throw in a little personal things about you as the owner. If you have any partners, every partner should have a story on the website as well. Talk about your families or what drives you every single day. People like to connect with a business owner. It makes them feel more connected to the brand, and it makes them feel more connected to the service or product that you're selling. And then the likelihood of them purchasing increases as well. And then don't forget to make sure your website is also mobile friendly, that people can access it from their mobile phones, accessibility compliance, images of people, testimonials, and overall have a great shoppable experience. And so with testimonials, I always recommend starting with family and friends, a quick text or a quick call and say, hey, can you please, write a review on my page on my website? That goes a long way. So there's a few website building tools. They're in the workbook as well of examples of user-friendly services you can use to build an attractive and functional website. A real popular one is Shopify. I know it's on there, but there's a few other ones like Weebly as well and Wix. So social media, keeping it real with your customers. You can't be on every social media platform. Be where your customers need you. And so, identifying that customer base and recognizing what tools they use, that's where you want to be. So another poll, which social media platforms does your business currently use? And we just have a few options, but Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, LinkedIn, YouTube, Pinterest, TikTok. If there's any ones that I missed, please share with me which social media platforms you guys are currently using. How to choose a social media platform, right? So it kind of goes back to learning where your customers are. And then that will essentially help you figure out what is the most appropriate social media platform to use for your business. So things to consider, things to think about is, what do your customers do online? What reinforces your brand image? Which platforms can help you meet your business goals? What gets people excited? What platforms are competitors on? Where can you put in the time, and what will be fun for you? And so I know that I have a good friend, he is a fitness instructor, and so he uses TikTok a lot because TikTok allows him to do quick, videos of his workouts. And so that social media platform seems to be working really well for his business. So that's just an example. So kind of think about which social media platform will benefit you the most. The social media landscape is always changing. Don't fall in love with just one platform. Listen to your community. If they move on, you should too. And so definitely, again, always being able to pivot and always being able to adapt to what your customers' needs are is very important as a business owner. Compare your social media apps. It's in the workbook. On page 15 of your workbook, you'll review the differences between each social media platform and then figure out which one aligns best with your brand. How to be successful on social media. I always been asked this question all the time. One thing that I learned recently is creating a calendar. And so I go back to my friend that he's on TikTok and he posts a lot of videos. And sometimes I'm like, how does he have the time to post this many videos? But what I learned is that he has a calendar that reminds him of when to post. And he posts at different times of the day. That way he's able to attract different groups of people. Again, he's in fitness, and so he'll post in the morning. That way he's getting those people that love to wake up early and go to the gym in the morning. And so his calendar will remind him when to post. And so he does a reoccurring event. It reminds him of when to post. He has the content already ready and available to him. He records all of the content. You know, he spends one full day recording a ton of content. And then as the week goes on, he's posting the content. That way he's getting a lot of traction and getting a lot of views and getting different types of customers throughout the day. So recommend creating a calendar, experimenting with the timing and the frequency, right? And so sometimes he'll post videos. I'm on the East Coast, I'm in Columbus, but he'll post a video where on my time it's 11 p.m., but I realize he does it because there's people in California that they're 3 hours ahead. And so it may be late for me at 11 p.m., but it's only 8 p.m. in California. So he experiments with different timing and frequencies. Be yourself, and then that way it'll amplify your community as well. Give more than you can take, ask customers to follow you, and be memorable. And so don't be afraid to ask a customer to follow you. Don't be afraid to do that ask. Chances are they're always going to say yes, and now you have an additional follower. And then if they repost your videos, that's even more exposure for your business as well. Should you pay for social media impressions? Unfortunately, it's hard to get noticed if you don't. So that kind of goes back to trying to get noticed. So what I always recommend, if you don't have a budget to pay for certain ads online, then just ask your local community, ask your family, ask your friends, hey, can you repost this for me? Because again, if they repost it, it kind of hits their followers. So hoping you're gaining additional followers that way as well. Email marketing, showing up right on time. Email continues to be a reliable digital marketing tool. So kind of keep that in mind as well too. Going back to the basics, social media has kind of taken over, but don't forget emails as well. And I'm gonna ask real quickly, just want to check in on the chat.
At the moment, there isn't any questions other than where they can locate the workbook. The workbook can be located in under the session description, session content in the attendee hub.
Perfect, thank you. All righty, 46% of consumers who believe email is the best channel for company contact, preferring it almost twice as much as any other channel. And so when you are driving business to your website and you are putting in there ways for them to contact you, make sure to capture their email. And so one way to capture email that I think works phenomenal is when they're on your website, there's these pop-ups that can come up, and it's a marketing tool. It pops up and it's asked the customer or the consumer to enter their email address, and they'll get a coupon code. They'll get 10% off their next service, 20% off their next service. And chances are that's going to incite them and to enter in their email address. And right there, you've captured that email for your records indefinitely. So now you've got that email, and then later on, you can use that email and that capturing to always send out blast emails. So blasting emails is still an effective way to get customers. Okay. Email success strategies. Focus on the open, develop a call to action, personalize your message, and create FOMO. FOMO means fear of missing out. And so once you tag their email, you can send out emails like, hey, don't forget to check out on your cart, right? Or emails like, here's an additional 10% off if you purchase today, right? And you kind of give that timeline and that sense of urgency that usually gets the consumer to purchase. I know that they've gotten, I mean, as a consumer myself, that's the way to get me. Send me an extra coupon code and you give me to the end of the day, I feel that urgency and I want to purchase immediately, usually. So different email marketing systems that we find that are the most popular are MailChimp, Constant Contact, HubSpot, Campaign Monitor, and Active Campaign. And like I said, those campaigns of like, hey, buy one, get one free, those are all campaigns you can create and just do an email blast. And like I said, that usually generates a lot of business that way. Email lead capture strategies, the pop-ups, which I already kind of talked about. When you're you're scrolling through a website and that pop-up comes up, it usually incentivizes the customer to put in their email address. Do giveaways. So if you have a lower priced item, you can always do buy one, get one free, right? Like, or a giveaway can always be free shipping. Shipping typically is, $7, $8. But if they purchase, $50 worth of items, they get free shipping. So those type of giveaways are always great. Social media promotions as well. Opt-in at purchase, tools or other resources, and then contests. So all things to think about, even if you do them on a monthly basis and change it up. So like, let's say 1 month you do a giveaway, the next month you do a contest, it keeps the customer engaged in your business. All righty, so how else can you market your business online? So there's review sites, digital ads, videos, texting, delivery apps, and then Amazon, of course. So in the chat, right, for business owners out there, which digital marketing space offers your business the biggest opportunity over the next 12 months? So we're going into part 3 where we're going to talk about maximizing your online space. A holistic approach can save time and money while improving results. So SEO, that stands for search engine optimization. So making sure your website shows up in search results is also very important. So for example, like I said, I'll go back to the example of my friend who was a fitness instructor. He wants to make sure his business shows up if anybody Googles or searches fitness, right? And his business being at the top of that list will usually guarantee that the consumer is going to hit the first one, right? So I don't know how many people in here, but usually when I search for something in my area, I may review the first page, possibly the second page of results. Going into that third or fourth page usually never happens. I'll make my decision usually off the first 2 pages of results. And so you want to make sure that your business is one of the first ones that pulled up. A few approaches include keywords, backlinks, site performance, and Google My Business. Okay, so automation. So also having automated messages can help you stay connected with customers without taking a lot of time. And so having welcomes on your website, reminders, the different campaigns we've talked about that you can do, requests for feedback. That's a big one too. So after somebody has purchased from you once, go ahead and request, their feedback. Figure out how the shopping experience was for them. Ask them for any recommendations, and then ask them for, like I said, those testimonials and those reviews as well. Oh, one last thing I forgot to mention on the last slide, celebratory occasions. usually getting their birthday too, so that way you can incentivize them for their birthday. Hey, it's your birthday, happy birthday, here's, a free necklace, or here's 10% off, your next service. Okay, so here, this is just a quick quote. It says, people from another business owner, successful business owner, he said, people tag me on Instagram all the time. They'll say the restaurants were closed, but I made my own lasagna wings. So let's chat. What are some of your ideas for how to market across multiple spaces? So I'll go ahead and ask how the chat is going.
Nothing at this time. Thank you.
Perfect. And I know we kind of we're on a little crunch for time, because I know this break OA session is just 50 minutes. So if you see me scrolling through a slide, it's because I've either already covered it, or, more than likely I've already covered it. So just want to give that FYI as well. Okay, we're going to go on to part 4, analyzing and adjusting. And so we did talk about that. Being able to pivot is extremely important. Like I said, ask any business owner prior to March of 2020, where the COVID kind of shut everything down. They would have said, oh, there's no need to pivot. My business has been the same for 20 years and it's going to be successful that way, right? Until you're hit with, having to shut doors and having to adjust. So I think more than ever, that has been something that has been taught and learned, that adjusting is extremely important. I always recommend when you've done your business plan, review your business plan, check in on your business plan, periodically. If it's once a year, every 6 months, it's so important to kind of remember where you started and remembering where you need to kind of pivot. So here just talks about, to make your digital marketing work, measure your progress and shift strategies as you go. So make your goals SMART. And SMART is an acronym for S is be specific, M for measurable, A for achievable, R for relevant, and then T for time bound. So let's talk about establishing metrics. Choose which numbers matter to you. And so there's a few things you can use. Google Analytics is an awesome tool that can tell you how many people have visited your website, how many people search for certain things in your area. So you can use Google Analytics to your benefit, and it'll help you kind of figure out what changes you need to make to attract the most customers. Same with email analytics and social media analytics. Other kinds of marketing data: online service, net promoter score, and ROI, which is return on investment. So a quick poll: how often do you review your marketing data? Like I said, don't be afraid as a business owner to review that business plan, whether you've been in business for 1 year or 20 years. Always review the plan and figure out what you need to do to pivot. A learning culture is essential. Marketing data is easy to ignore. Your approach needs to be intentional. And so what that marketing data is going to give you, it's going to give you the customers that you're currently attracting, right? You're going to know that. You're going to say, okay, the usual buyer is this person, but you want to attract new customers. And so it's also going to tell you who you're not attracting, right? And what you need to do to change, you are attracting new customers, not just keeping the existing customers happy. The goal is to always get new ones. That way you're growing. How to build a learning culture. Collect data. So we've kind of talked about that, right? Collecting feedback, getting surveys out there to your customers once they purchase from you. Making sure that your website aligns with your brand and it's constantly being updated. So maintaining clean, useful data. Create a dashboard where you can see all of your metrics in one place. Regularly share what you're learning and encourage experimentation. I always encourage that. So an example would be kind of like doing a campaign, right? And so you do a 20% off campaign and kind of seeing, you experiment with that. You launch that for 2 days. If sales have increased in those 2 days, that kind of lets you know, okay, yeah, people liked that campaign. People were enjoying that. If sales didn't really move at all, that also tells you a lot too. So kind of experimenting with your business, trying out different things in different areas of your business can tell you a lot about whether or not what you're doing works. And if it doesn't work, okay, what should you be doing to fix that? Okay, so we're going to move on to part 5, own your digital space. Now's the time to claim your space online. Review your progress. Can you see a way to take your marketing to the next level? So there's, like I said, there's always ways to improve and learn. Something new to Instagram, I'm sure you guys know, is the Reels, right? And so a lot of business owners had to figure out how to make Reels because that was just the new thing that came out. And so kind of learning what ways to market your business to get the next level is important, and just being in the know. So another thing to chat about is, what's the first thing you're going to do to raise your digital marketing game? I would love to hear what thoughts you guys had on that. Any questions? How's the chat going?
Yes.
And please, this is the time for Q&A. Please ask me any questions on anything that we may have not covered here today.
Oh, thank you. One of the questions was, where can you find your customers on social online?
So the first thing I always recommend is, once you build that brand and you know who your customer base you want it to be, then you can go online and utilize the hashtag to get you the customers you want. So for example, I have an example. One of my friends, her target customer is people who have curly hair. That is her target customer. And so when she's posting online, she's hashtagging curly. She's using all the hashtags that relate to having curly hair, natural hair. So she's not afraid to use social media in that aspect. And then she also uses the hashtags to search for customers. So when she's on Instagram, she'll search hashtag curly hair. And then, or she'll do like more specific, the city that she's in Boston. So she'll say Boston curly hair, right? She'll hashtag that. And then it'll come up with a certain number of people, and she'll go through on their page and she'll direct message them, offer them a coupon code or offer them some services that she's offering for curly hair. So those are some of the few ways to kind of think outside of the box to get customers online, outside of what we talked about, which making sure that your business is one of the first ones that pops up when someone does search curly hair Boston, for example, that your business is one of the ones at the top. And that's where the search engine optimization comes into play, and learning how to do that on Google. There's a few books on Amazon and even audiobooks that teach you more in depth that IT side of it, of what things people are searching, Google Analytics, and kind of gives you all of the data there. But I would start using hashtags on Instagram and social media. And then I would start with making sure that the business shows up on Google.
Thank you. And what are the top 5 social media platforms that you would recommend for small business owners to use?
TikTok, I know, is up there on my list now, because there's millions of viewers on TikTok, and that's the best place to be be yourself and showcase your product, right? And it's a quick videos and they're quick, fun videos, but I think it's where you can show your personality, show your product the best way, and usually gets a lot of people seen. So I would say TikTok, Instagram, people still use Facebook. LinkedIn is actually one that I think people don't use often that they probably should. That connects you with the local people in your community. On LinkedIn, you can look up different organizations in your community that are helping small business owners kind of connect with one another and create that ecosystem. So that one kind of really connects you with other business owners. But if other business owners, you can help one another, right? And so I was really impressed, actually, a story that I heard in Houston where all the business owners help each other, even if it's the same product, right? Even if it's like, oh, we're both selling mac and cheese, but your mac and cheese is great because yours is a little more crunchier and mine is more cheesier, but either way doesn't mean that people won't buy your mac and cheese and buy mine too, right? And so kind of creating that ecosystem. So I think LinkedIn is also a great way to do that, connects you with other small business owners. And that way you can work together, help each other out. So that would be the fourth one. And so what I say, Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, LinkedIn, I would say those will be the top four for me.
Okay, thank you. And here I have a question: how to do market research before launching a product? How many potential customers need to be surveyed before spending money to produce a product?
I would say a minimum of 20 people. That gives you a good focus group, right? And try to do different people from different demographics, right? In different walks of life. That also gives you a more holistic view as well. I would say a minimum of 20, starting with your local, like I said, family and friends. Start there. Maybe have a friend invite a coworker, right, from a different walk of life or a different part. So if everybody brings one coworker, someone from the gym or someone from the local grocery store, just try to get a minimum of 20 people and do a focus group and have them try out the service or product that your business is selling and give you honest feedback on it. But I think that's a good number to start with.
Okay, thank you. Let's see here, how to find someone to do the marketing for the business at an economical price. It's impossible to do everything as a business owner. Don't want the business to kill me.
Oh, yes. I mean, especially as a newly business owner, you want to keep expenses as low as possible, right? So that your margins are a little bit better. But I would go back to the LinkedIn. I would see it, throw it on there. Facebook has a lot of different community groups that you can be a part of, or community groups. So being a part of those groups also. And so I'll give an example, like, if you're into real estate, let's say, depending on what the business is, but what I did, last year I was really into real estate. And so I found local real estate groups on Facebook that were right here in my backyard, right here in Columbus, Ohio. I became a member of that group. And anytime I had a question, I would go on there and say, hey, does anybody know anybody that does plumbing, right? And I would get so many recommendations. And then I would go one by one and I would call every recommendation on plumbing and I would get the cheapest one, right? Because the same thing, I wanted to kind of keep costs low. So I would recommend joining some kind of Facebook group, depending on what your business type is and who your target is, and asking questions there. And usually they'll recommend, if the group is big enough. The group that I joined had over 1,000 members in that group. And so I got so many recommendations that way to find the most economical way.
Okay, and I think we're running a little bit on time right now, but I did have one more question for you. Can you speak a little bit on the influencer marketing strategies?
I'm sorry, say that again. You broke off a little bit.
Can you speak on influencer marketing?
Yes, influencer, that would be also great too. So I know that getting a local influencer in your community to product something, that to me does also work, to be honest. Now, the negotiations between you and the influencer, I guess, is what you'll need to figure out. But let's say most of the time it would be like, okay, if you post this 3 times a week, I'll pay you $50 or something. It's kind of negotiating that to the best of your ability, and also figuring out how many followers they have too, and what you think is a good number of followers. I would say, if they have 10,000 followers, that's probably a good start. And then saying you can post this my business once a week and showcase my business, you know and coming up with whatever number you think is feasible. But if it's on the lower end, I do think it's worth it. But again, it's all about experimenting. If a month later you feel like you haven't really received much return on that investment, then it's always okay to, kind of cut ties and move on to another influencer, right? So maybe move on. This influencer had 10,000 followers. Let me find someone that has 20,000 followers, right? So not being afraid to pivot and experiment. But yeah, definitely recommend doing that as well.
Okay, thank you. Yes, thank you so much, very much to our speaker for today's presentation.